So in terms of the overall CapEx savings, low-voltage memory is a really compelling story.
Dan, we actually also did a study along that line, is that not only memory has a direct impact on the system-level saving, which is basically the platform itself, but there are ramifications also in terms of saving at the rack level and also at the room or the IT space level as well as the service level. And let me explain maybe in terms of how the memory can help from that angle, and back to what Brad had also mentioned earlier on from a TCO perspective. The power saving that you're seeing at the system level means, from the studies that we've done, is that the implication on it at a rack level is the possibility of adding, let's say for a rack that has about 2,000 watt of budget, using the latest technology can help you increase the number of servers per rack. So when you're increasing the number of servers per rack, you're actually optimizing your performance per kilowatt and per rack, and as a result can eventually reduce the number of racks within a room. And so when you look at it from a TCO perspective, optimization at rack level means optimization also from the overhead cost. Optimization then at a room level means that you're minimizing any additional cooling complexity, building blocks, and overhead in terms of infrastructure. And then from a service level, one of the distinctions that Samsung offers to the table is a very high quality DIMMs. As we mentioned earlier on, being the leader means that we're the first to also validate with our partners such as Intel and AMD, and gives the end customer also the guarantee that these chips have been tested, have been validated at the chipset level, and of course with HP have been validated at the system level. Being also first means quicker ramp-ups, means higher levels of production and higher levels of yield. So all this also ensures that from a service point of view that the end user is having a quality solution.
So talking about being first, what's next? I've seen, HP announced a server blade capable of holding a terabyte of RAM in it, but obviously there's roadmaps beyond the 16 gigabyte DIMMs that are available in some ProLine servers today. What's next? What are the new technologies that might be coming out in the long term from?
One of the technologies we announced in June was the announcement of our Generation 2 of Green DDR3, which we call the 30 nanometer class technology. This is the DDR3 that's going to be operating also at 1.35 volts, and from a component level, it's going from the 2 gigabit from Generation 1 up to 4 gigabit. If you look at it also in terms of power comparison, for a 48 gigabyte system, today in the Generation 1, you're offering about 28 watts for 48 gigabyte configurations. With the new generation, so Generation 2, we're talking about 14 watts for 48 gigabyte systems. So you're talking, in average, less than 0.3 watts per gigabyte. So that's pretty phenomenal. Plus the higher density, the 4 gigabits, which enables you to offer 16 gigabyte DIMMs and even double that density.
You're talking like a 32 gigabyte DIMM.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And this is phenomenal because, as Brad also mentioned earlier on, we're talking about virtualization. The number of virtual machines per server is going up, and it very much is in line with HP's philosophy of the converged infrastructure and of scaling up.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Sylvie. We see memory capacities continue to grow that is fueled in large part by virtualization. Virtualization, of course, brings a whole lot of other sets of challenges to the table, like server sprawl, and HP converged infrastructure addresses those at a much broader level. But at the core, though, system memory is becoming an even more critical component of server and data center infrastructure. And we at HP really believe that by introducing innovative green DDR3 memory into our HP qualified options portfolio, this will really enable our customers to take money that was spent on really power-hungry components like DDR2, for example, that we talked about earlier, and shift that money into budget spent on real business innovation.
But it sounds like there's a bunch of takeaways here. Clearly, memory has changed a lot in the past 3 to 5 years, both the technologies used and then how it's deployed, especially around virtualization. So that green DDR3 really nails that trend, addressing both the capacity question, but more important, that power consumption problem. And I love how you talk about being able to actually, under the same power budget, fit literally more servers into that rack or into that room level and prevent more expensive solutions. But it also sounds like there's cool stuff coming, even more cool stuff coming down the pipeline, like the 4 gigabit technology.
Absolutely. And if I may add, another point is we talked about more servers per rack. And most important of all is you're not jeopardizing the power budget. So you're not going beyond your existing power budget. So that's pretty phenomenal. And in many cases, you're also able to reduce that. And so in the IT space where optimization and cost reduction is also a critical mass, especially when you're factoring in virtualization, when you're also factoring consolidation, while at the same time you're asking for boosting performance, that becomes a very critical mass. I wanted to also put another thing in perspective, is this energy saving. Let's imagine the 32 million unit servers worldwide were replaced by new technology from HP, for example, that had the Samsung Green DDR3 technology. Well, some of the estimates that we have is showing that with the brand new technology from Samsung, you could, in average, save 95 terawatt hour of power consumption per year. And that, in a best-case scenario, results in about $6 to $7 billion of power saving per year. So if we look at what we said earlier on, about $32 billion are spent every year for server power expense. We're talking about 20 to 26% saving purely by choosing the right technology. So that's pretty phenomenal.
Wow, that's some good stuff and some cool information from both of you. Brad and Sylvie, thanks for the time spent today and for the information on Green DDR3 and its use in ProLiant servers.
Yes,
thank you, Dan. I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much, Dan. And just remember, the impact of one component and the right choice of the technology has ramifications beyond the system. It's the whole IT infrastructure that benefits from it. And being part of the HP total solution, having solutions that are synergized with the converged infrastructure is the right approach. And Samsung's technology is here to provide you high quality, the lowest power, and the best solution from a TCO perspective.
And thanks to you especially for listening to this podcast today.
Thank you very much.